On this episode of Who Cares, we'll be talking.
We're finally live. We're finally live. There was a delay, so go back to hello.
Hello. On this episode of Who Cares, we'll be talking to novelist and rape victim Ann Sterzinger. Ann recently moved to California as punishment for being raped, California now being the largest for-profit prison in North America. And of course, since it's easier to locate victims rather than perpetrators of sexual crimes, being raped is now punishable by a sentence of no less than 5 years. Because, well, in this brave new grab 'em by the pussy world, when it comes to rape, somebody has to pay. Ann is also currently being raped on the internet by expatriate white nationalist and male prostitute Matt Forney. Matt, of course, is well known as a men's rights activist and serial harasser who's made it his purpose in life to convince everyone that Ann is completely bonkers and a liar. Well, we always knew Ann was nuts, but whatever her numerous other faults, she's no liar. She's here with us, and you can see Matt Forney's latest work in the 2019 Bucharest Gay Firefighters swimsuit calendar, He's Mr. September. Ann, thank you for joining us and our indifferent studio audience. I must say you're looking positively ravishing with those welts. You recently suffered a bout of Black Plague, didn't you?
Actually, it was called Edwin. Wow, I just woke up. I can't even remember my roommate's name. Edwin Oslinitis. Actually, it's called typhus, but it's close enough to the Black Plague. Yeah, I moved. When I was raped in Chicago, the night of the rape, I showed the cops where the guy was living, and they kind of said, "That's nice, honey," and they loaded me into the ambulance and took DNA evidence. And I was like, "Well, we can check the DNA evidence later. The perp is like over there." And I showed them the apartment, and they're like, "That's nice, sweetie. We got like 40 dead bodies stacked over there. We don't have time to go interrogate this guy." So I wound up kind of stuck living next to the guy that I kind of knew had raped me. I mean, kind of knew. You have to say alleged, and also he happened to be one of those guys that I think he allegedly was one of those guys that my roommate, my sort of apartment complex mate was. She was letting homeless guys live with her as a sociology project. Anyway, because the cops didn't arrest this guy, and I knew he was still living next door to me, my punishment was I fled to California because that was the first place that it looked like I could quickly just move my ass into an apartment. But as everyone who may have been following the story knows, this turned into like a saga where I bounced from Jim Goad's house, where he kindly let me live in California, Georgia, for which he got repaid by being called a cuck, which is hilarious because he had all kinds of girls fighting over him before and after I left. But people project a lot, and I guess they thought that he was doing the right thing because he thought it would get him laid, which it's a brave new world we live in, Jamie. Jamie and I are only in our 40s, right?
I'm 52.
Well, you act like you're in your 40s.
Oh, thank you.
That may be the only compliment that you've ever gotten from me, so savor it while you can.
Yes, I will. And by the way, while we're on the topic of Jim Goad, we're gonna touch on Jim later. But for now, I guess the real question that viewers want an answer to is, set the record straight for us. Were you ever Matt Forney's girlfriend? In other words, are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
No. And as I've said before, if I had the time or the money to hire a lawyer, calling me his girlfriend would be the worst of the rape not the rape accusations. Wow, sorry. That was a Freudian slip. So far, the only person who's officially accused me of rape is Matt, which makes the story even funnier. it's so difficult telling a story that from the outside looking in is hilarious, but from the inside living it is horrible.
Mm.
Like, how do you tell a story like that? But where was I? Oh, I was.
Well, yeah.
I just woke up. We had planned to do this while I was standing on the beach, so that we wouldn't get photobombed by my roommate, whose atrocious hygiene habits are what led to me getting fucking typhus from possum feces, which is another long story. This could go on forever, but Jamie has to get to work. Shit never goes as planned.
Well, I was going to ask. I mean, questions.
But no, I've never been Matt's girlfriend, and that is the worst libel possible.
But you do seem to have a track record of getting tangled up with psychopaths. There's Matt. There's Edwin. When we met, you were involved with Rachel Haywire. So
I've never been her boyfriend ever.
What's that?
I've never been her boyfriend either.
Okay, no, well that's good. But I guess my question is, what is it, and that what's the fascination with cluster B personality types, psychopaths, narcissists? You seem to gravitate into their orbit quite a bit. What's the attraction there?
No, you are not a psychiatrist, so you don't know. Well, actually, the psychiatrists don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. But I know what you're asking. I know I seem to be fascinated by wackos. And it's like I know that they're talking shit, but there's part of my brain that wants to like smile at them and nod just to see what they'll do next. Like, if I keep pretending to go along with this weird, crazy shit, like, I wonder how far this person will go. Like, when Matt first moved in next door to me, well, technically I moved in next door to him in Chicago. I was fleeing my ex-boyfriend. He left me for a 20-year-old girl because he had we had troubles with our relationship and he had a midlife crisis, so he started dating a 20-year-old girl. He suddenly decided I had to leave his house. And I stayed with his step-parents for a while, and that turned out badly. Because his stepdad was feeling lonely. So I had to very quickly move, and I moved to Rogers Park in Chicago. And I got there, and I got a phone call from Matt, sort of badly acting, surprised that I had moved into Rogers Park, because he said, "Wow, what a coincidence. I just moved in right around the corner from you." And like kind of my blood froze in my veins. I was like, out of all the places in Chicago, how did this person know where I was moving? How did they get there first? But it could be a coincidence. So I played along with the coincidence, which has gotten me in all kinds of trouble because he's subsequently claimed that like I stalked him there. Who knows? It could have actually been a coincidence. But for the record, I did not stalk him there. Either it was a coincidence or he somehow found out where I was moving. But anyway, the answer being, I want to find out what they'll do next, and I gotta just go back to reading books the way I did when I was a little kid to fulfill that curiosity. Because following your curiosity in real life, it winds up with you living out book plots, and book plots are fun to read, but they're really no fun to live. They're really not fun to live at all.
That's very true. So speaking of book plots and things that aren't fun, after your rape, you reached out to friends for help. You appeared on an episode of Jim Goad's Group Hug podcast. Jim, of course, being a columnist at large for Tacky Mag. Jim had you on, but he's apparently paid a price for that. What happened there?
Well, see, this is the point. The overall, like all the personal details. I wish I hadn't gotten bogged down in them again because they're boring. And every podcast that I do that I get bogged down in the personal details gets boring. what we're trying to drive at with this podcast is, as Gen Xers or whatever, however old we are, we seem to have like grown up in one world and woken up in another one. And Jim let me stay at his house while I was waiting for this supposedly instant roommate situation to open up in California. Not only was it instant, they made me wait 6 weeks to clean this place. It was, oh my God, it was an unbelievable filthy mess when I moved in. There was just shit. Let me move the computer around. There's just shit stacked everywhere. There's like still like these 2 couches that are full of mouse poop that I can't seem to get the landlord to get rid of because he's attached to them. I understand he's attached to them. They must have been very expensive couches at one point, but he had a roommate who like fed the mice. So now the couches are full of mouse poop, and that's maybe one of the reasons I have typhus. It's lit by this, or it's heated by this charming fiery stove. It does get warm and cold in California, which is nuts because people aren't ready for it. People act like you're like some bourgeois from the future if you want to use central heating. So you gotta have a fire going. But Jesus, I just woke up. People must think I'm mentally retarded. I'm sucking on coffee.
So let's kind of tack back toward the question.
Oh, sorry.
What happened to Jim as a result of his kindness towards you and willingness to help you and have you on his podcast?
Well, Jim, like I said, did the right thing. He had me on his podcast and let me tell my story. He is not a credulous man. Like there's a lot of funny irony in this story. I'm being accused by Matt's crew of lying about being raped by a total stranger just to make Matt look bad in a podcast that he was in with Jim, because Jim kicked his ass largely by making him look like he had no empathy for a girl that he supposed he was trying to claim that he was in love with and was boyfriend and girlfriend with. And this forced Matt to try to prove that I was lying about being raped, which caused these friends of Matt's to place this unwinnable bet with Jim. They bet Jim that he couldn't prove that I had been raped. Well, it takes months and months and months to prove a rape case. It takes 8 to 12 months just to get the DNA results back. We've tried calling my detective. She has better shit to do than talk to a bunch of online psychopaths. They're going to keep moving the goalposts anyway. But Jim, A, he was trying to do the right thing. B, we kind of grew up in a subculture. And I was trying to explain this the other day to just a 31-year-old kid in the subculture. And I was trying to explain to a 31-year-old kid that Jim did the right thing because A, he just wanted to do the right thing. And B, you used to kind of get rewarded for doing the right thing. Like reputation-wise in the underground. Like if you did the right thing, people, they thought better of you. And you, if you want to be cynical, if you want to say, oh, Jim was just doing it for this reason or that reason, it would be you used to benefit from doing the right thing. And this kid just gave me this blank stare and he said, but the way of the world, and he gave me this like sort of, I'm dismissing him as a kid. He's a very intelligent person. He just happens to be 10 years younger than I am and grew up in a different world. And he gave me this this sort of quasi libertarian lecture about the law of the jungle and you being nice gets you nowhere and people who do bad are rewarded. And I was like, yeah. That's the mainstream. There used to be this underground countercultural world where doing good would win you points. And he just gave me this blank stare. And I was
well, it's easy to be a libertarian when you have a trust fund.
Well, he doesn't have a trust fund.
Okay, but it's the same kind of idea, the evolutionary imperative of compassion, which we developed, as a sort of a herd, a tribal instinct. it's definitely been fragmenting in this brave new fucked up world that we're all merrily skidding into like a drunk behind the wheel of a car that's hydroplaning across a highway. Bottom line, it sounds to me like, Jim tried to do the right thing, and now he's being attacked. For listeners who are interested for more on that, you can tune into Jim Goad's Group Hug podcast on SoundCloud. It's episode 60, a giant wind tunnel of bullshit. Anne is the guest. And you can help Jim out by picking up a copy of his new book, Whiteness, the Original Sin. It's very entertaining. And hopefully he will recover from this debacle.
Yeah, I feel really bad. He's being attacked by people who just, they intellectually, I was going to say they don't play fair, but I don't even know if they realize they're playing a game. I don't even realize that they're trying to be intellectual. They just, they come from a different world. And what really is kind of blowing my mind is one of the insults that they're using on him constantly is that they're calling him an old smackhead, which, for the record, is not true. Jim is not a junkie. I don't even know if he's tried smack, but if he did, I don't think he liked it. I'm trying to remember the story he told me, but I'm going senile. I think he might have tried it but didn't like it, or I'm mixing him up with somebody else. Anyway, I don't want to commit libel just because I'm retarded. But wow, can I say that? I can't say that word. I don't want to commit libel just because my memory is bad. But Jim is not a smackhead. But if he were, a mere 10 years ago, that would have made people think he was cooler as a writer. Like,
most writers who churn out books and newspaper columns and critical essays at the tempo that Jim Goad does don't usually indulge in heroin. I think Jim's output speaks for itself. Let's go ahead. We're coming down here to the last 10 minutes. Your rapist apparently used a condom. Is that a common courtesy these days, or did you just happen to have a very conscientious rapist?
Wow. Yeah, shit. I just realized that Google Hangouts is telling me I'm the only one here and I should invite people, and that's making me a bit worried that we're not recording. But anyway, I asked him to use a condom. I wish people would quit asking this question because I can't. He was behind me and I don't know what happened. I asked the guy to use a condom. He was weirdly polite. He called me baby, which means don't ever call me baby during sex, please. If anyone ever calls me baby during sex, I'll just flip out. But I asked him to use a condom. He said he was using a condom. They found dried semen in me anyway, and I hadn't had sex otherwise that night, so I don't know what the fuck happened. Either it broke or he was lying. He was doing it so hard. I was trying to figure out whether it felt like he was actually wearing a condom or not. But the whole time I was terrified that I was going to be killed. So it all kinds of blurs into one big, like, why would you think I'm lying about being raped? Because I can't answer that question with certainty. I don't know.
Well, it sounds to me like, the bottom line is that you had this unbelievably shitty experience in which you were attacked, you were blindsided, you were raped, and now everybody expects you to be able to recite chapter and verse everything that happened in exact chronological order with evidence and justifications. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying about back in the old days. A good deed not being punished. It used to be that when somebody went through a horrific nightmare like the one that you've obviously been through, people were compassionate. People were sympathetic.
Well, maybe
And
not the mainstream, but there was an underground of people who tried to be good and tried to be better than the mainstream society. And it seems like the internet kind of considers itself an underground, but people on the internet act as bad or worse than people in the mainstream, and they're rewarded for shitty behavior. So Jim is kind of being attacked for doing the right thing, and I'm surprised by it. He's surprised by it. I don't know what to do about it. Like, he's being attacked on my behalf, and I don't know what to do because it used to be if you did the right thing, people would be kind to you. And calling somebody a smackhead just made them cooler. Like last night while we were discussing this, I was talking to you about this antique piece of English literature. What was it called? A half penny's worth of advice. I forget the guy's name, but he was talking about what a drunk he had been and what drunks artists and bohemians had always been, and suddenly we're in this brave new world where not only doing the right thing will get you trashed in the underground, but calling a writer an alcoholic is an insult. Like, it used to just be, Fitzgerald is a drunk. It's a character flaw, but it seems to go with the territory of being a writer, and it's another part of the way our generation is, sort of grown up in one world and woken up in another one, and it's very disconcerting and odd.
Well, in terms of let's ask my final question here, the really important one. How are your cats taking all this?
They're cats. They've been flown back and forth across the country, which has been very traumatic for them. They may have caught the fleas that gave me typhus in the end, which is why I've been ill for 2 months now. God, the amount of money that I spent on antibiotics kind of makes me feel ill to begin with. But they're I guess they're taking it as well as could possibly be expected.
Well, and all kidding aside, I do hope that you get better, you get some rest, recover from your current illness, and certainly, I wish you the best of luck in continuing to process and cope with what happened to you in Chicago. It's a horrible situation. It's just compounded by people who are taking advantage of your vulnerability right now to say awful things about you.
It's kind of surreal. They were on a podcast the other night where, like, Jim was just invited as a general podcast guest, and suddenly, out of the blue, they invited 10, 9 or 10, I forget, some ridiculous number of people on who were all attacking him. We're all attacking him with this narrative that, and it's all because he beat Matt in a debate, because Matt lost the debate for himself by failing to show compassion for another human being. And instead of just saying, okay, I failed to show compassion for another human being, Matt's dragged all these people with him and gone out of his way to try to prove that I'm lying about being raped, when actually Matt has been accused of raping me a couple of times, and I've defended him both times because I was inebriated. I no longer drink. It's funny. These people all are drunk on these podcasts, and they all drink a lot. They might even drink more than I did at the time. I don't know. I don't follow them around all day. But I was drinking at the time, and they're all calling me an alcoholic, and they're currently drunk, which is an irony of itself, in and of itself. But they're contending that this whole, like, loss of Matt lost this debate to Jim because I had concocted this elaborate plot where I was going to lie about being raped by a stranger in order to make Matt look bad by springing this on him. So not only did I lie about a total stranger raping me for no apparent reason other than to harm Matt, but I also, dumped my life in Chicago and suddenly moved to California to, a very sudden, unpleasant living situation where I've caught typhus and I've gotten stuck in the middle of another fight between Edwin Osland and David Cole, which I never wanted to be in the middle of, and being Edwin's roommate has dumped me in the middle of that fight. Like I've had all of these incredibly unpleasant things happen to me because of having been raped and having to move across the country. And these guys are making this argument that I went through all of this on purpose just to make Matt look bad in a debate against Jim. And it's this incredibly convoluted argument that they're trying, against all reason to uphold just by virtue of piling on numbers of guys against Jim. They just have this one guy on an episode of a podcast that he thinks he's going to be a guest on an episode of a podcast, and suddenly they call in 10 different people who are all laughing at him and all calling him a liar and all, saying that he had all sorts of ulterior motives for doing what he thought was the right thing. I mean, it's not just what he thought was the right thing. It was the right thing.
And this is the brave new world we live in, where no good deed goes unpunished. And that sucks.
So on that note, it's even in the underworld. On that note, I know you keep trying to finish, but let me hammer home the fact that this is the reason this is frightening to me is because, as I learned in my conversation with this young man the other night, this is the case. This used to be the case, like in the straight world, in the square world, and in the underground, people try to, have a better, have a different code of ethics, have a better code of ethics, and reward people for doing the right thing. And Jim expected, if you want to be cynical and say that he did any of this for any other reason than Jesus Christ, Anne needs help, I can help her, let me help her. The only other reason would be that he was expecting that this underground would, say, hey, good job for helping her, good job for doing the right thing. And instead, he's been attacked relentlessly by what's calling itself the underground. And so the underground has, if anything, even worse values than the mainstream, which is terrifying.
And we'll go ahead and end there. And thank you very much for your time. And we'll be in touch. Maybe we'll continue this story down the line. I hope we do.
Yeah. Okay.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, sorry to be so unprofessional, but is this live chat actually listening? Sorry to be so unprofessional, but is live chat actually listening? I guess I'm alone. I guess I'm ruining it now. Oh dear. Okay. Well, hopefully you guys were able to watch. Huh. I guess I just accidentally closed Jamie out of the chat. Hi. Um hi everyone. I guess I just accidentally closed Jamie out of the chat, but I didn't stop the chat. So I was very worried that the sound didn't work at all, and the that all that we did was just following into the void. But from the chat, it looks like we were actually live. So can somebody in the chat tell me if you can hear me right now? I sound okay now. Okay. So does anybody have any questions for me now that Jamie had to go to work? We were going to do this earlier today, but I slept too late because I had just finally gotten to sleep for the first time in a few days, and my alarm clock didn't work. So does anybody have any questions? Are you working on any new books? Yes, I am. I'm working on. Actually, I started a new site. Well, I started a new publication on Medium. Medium is a site where you can go to do your own publications, and I started a site called You're All Pussies, which will probably not do very well in the Google rankings because of the name I gave it. Am I still going to do a podcast with David? I hope so. Um, that's I hope I hope I can still do a podcast with David. That's a good question. I would love to. But there's all kinds of unfortunate politics behind that. Thoughts on Keith Preston? I've never actually met Keith Preston live, but has something happened to him today? Uh, well, I should probably try answering the first question. I'm working on a book. I guess the provisional title is just Boris and the Mess. It's kind of the story of a writer trying to write against time constraints, which is what we all have now. So it's kind of a writer talking to different weird half imaginary characters that hang out in his head. Um, I'm working on that, but I also Jamie's asking, did you get it? I'm not sure what he's asking. What it is? Yeah, Jamie, I got it down on tape. It works. It seems to be working. Hang on. Wow. I'm 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 not very good with. I just woke up. I'm still drinking my coffee, and I'm not very good with all this new stuff. Um, anyway, jeez, did I lose the hang of? Oh no, here we are. Okay. Well, no, I lost the chat. Okay, here's the chat. I'm actually working on multiple new books. One of them is the one that's coming out serially on Medium. You go to medium.com and look for You're All Pussies, or you can look for Ann Sturzinger, and there are different chapters coming out. I'm also trying to put out the second volume of Life, which is my science fiction series, or actually the official name of the series now is Electra's Revenge. The first book was named Life. But I'm trying to get that out. Wow. So So thanks to everyone who's listened. I can't seem to find the chat again. Um, Jeez. And now there's dead air. You're supposed to keep chattering through dead air, right? Because now in the brave new world, not only do you have to do things live, you have to fill up dead air with song and dance and my stuffy nose. Um, I, I guess I might be able to edit this later because I'm kind of acting the fool right now. But let's see. Where is the chat? Where the heck did the chat go? Everyone. Maybe the chat will show up. Well, gosh, it's hard to have a conversation with people when you're this non-adept. Share screen, full screen. No, share screen. Share screen. No, I didn't want to do that. Just show me the chat. Come on, just show me the chat. Show me the chat. Oh dear. Oh dearie me. I'm such an old fuck. Yeah, basically I'm working on a couple of new books, but I'm also working on working. Right now I'm translating a French novel, which is a lot of fun, and I have to get down to doing that. I also have to do some other stuff for money today. But I really appreciate everyone listening in. I guess please share this link so everyone can see how bad we actually are with this new technology and make fun of us. Those boomers were drunk while they were trying to live cast. Look at them fucking around with trying to find out where the chat is. That's hilarious. Yeah, it is a brave new world, and we're trying our our best not to stand there screaming, "Get off my lawn!" But the funny thing is, none of us have lawns. I mean, no one my age has a lawn to scream "Get off of," so I'm not sure what we can scream at you to get off of. Get off of, get off of me and stop raping me. I don't know. Actually, the guy who raped me, I'm not sure how old he was. He tried to stay behind me, but um, anyway, I should probably stop making a fool of myself and leave. But I'll if I can figure out to, and if people want me to, I'll if someone wants to start a live chat with me, if I have any listeners who want to start a live chat with me in the next few minutes, send me a message. Maybe we can figure that out. You can do a better job than than I am. So there's that option. I'll be hanging around working. So send me a message if you feel like setting it up. And we can do that. So good morning, and thank you so much for listening.